Hello, this is Amy from Rain Studios, and today I'm going to teach a tutorial on full Persian, the chainmail weave full Persian. This is full Persian in copper. As you can see, it's very pretty and it's somewhat intricate. I would classify this as an intermediate to advanced weave because you really have to kind of finagle your way through a lot of rings as you're putting it together. This one I've attached a little Swarovski crystal pearl on there. So let's get down to it, shall we? All right. As usual, I have my 2 pairs of pliers. I like bent nose in my offhand, and I like some narrow chain nose pliers for my primary hand. I also have, if I can pick it up, I also have a paper clip that I've opened up. I'm going to use that to kind of keep things in place now and then as I work. And I would have gotten another paper clip and opened it up, but I couldn't find one, so I have just a little piece of wire, which I have plenty of. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start, I'm going to do this in sterling and copper to have kind of an alternating look to it. And also, I find that when I use 2 metals, it makes it a lot easier to see what I'm doing for you to see what I'm doing. So start with a 222 chain, and these are 18 gauge 5.5 millimeter inner diameter rings. So make a 222 chain, and here is the hardest part of this weave is starting it. I gotta say, it's really kind of a pain in the tuchus. All right, so we take our rings on the end here, our sterling rings on the end, and we're going to put them one on top of the other sterling rings and the other ring on the bottom. And it's really difficult to hold these in place for the next step. So this is what I like to do. I like to do I use my paper clip to try and hold these in place. I put it through that one, through those 2 middle ones, and through the bottom one. And that will kind of keep those lined up the way I want them to stay until I'm done getting my next ring into place, which will lock them into place. Okay? I did not go through any of those copper rings. I only went through the sterling. I'm going to turn it over so that paper clip's on the bottom and doesn't get in my way. So, focus. I turn it to the side like this. I separate these 2 silver rings, and I'm going to also separate these 2 copper rings. Just push them apart like that. Now, the ring is going to go through this top sterling ring. It's going to go in between these 2 copper rings. Let's get even closer. In between these 2 copper rings. It's going to go down underneath those 2 sterling rings below. It's coming out in between the 2 copper rings and then through the sterling ring. Ooh, that was a lot. Let's see if we can get a good close-up of that. We can. So it's went down in between the 2 copper rings, through those 2 sterling rings, out through the other sterling ring, in between the 2 copper rings. So it's like weaving your way through a maze. Full Persian. They call it full maze. Okay, so now I'm going to take my copper ring and I'm going to put it through exactly where that wire is. Through there, down through the silver rings. I came up through the copper, but I also need to catch that silver ring like that. Excellent. And now I'm going to close that ring up. Very hard to do when there's a camera in your way. Yeah, I've screwed that ring up pretty good. There we go. Okay, so that ring is in place now. And since that ring is in place, we can get rid of all these wires and paper clips and whatnots. Now everything is locked down. If you need more to hold on to, you can always put a paper clip right through those the end there. Just gives more of a handle on things. I think I'm fine though. I would be finer if it will focus. Focus. Okay, here we go. So I got one ring right through there, and now I need to double that ring. See these two copper rings that kind of make a V? I need to make the other side of the V on this chain. So I need one more copper ring. So I'm going to take a copper ring, and it's going to go right through the same spot that copper ring went through. So hold it in a way you can kind of see what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going down through there, through all the silver, and up through there. And I'm going to close. And I do not like at all how I close this first copper ring. So I'm taking this one out and I'm going to replace it. I got it all screwy, and then I got it all kind of marked up. And I am a bit of a perfectionist. It has to be good. So I'm going to replace that one. So we have two good looking rings there. Now, as you can see, I'm going in on this side of this copper ring like this. If I can do it right, like this. Sometimes when you come out the other side, see how it's coming out on the bottom? And it should be coming out on the top. That means somehow down in that little maze of rings, I've gone through the original copper ring. So I have to ease it back and make sure I come out on top like that. Ooh, I hope that made sense. And close. Okay, so we got a little piece of Persian, full Persian working out here. I'm going to continue. When I first started making this chain, whenever I got to this point, I was always confused as to where I add the next rings. Do I like try and go through? Do I separate these? What do I do? And the trick for me is if there's nothing dangling, off of this chain, then you're not going to go down through the rings. If it's just kind of ending here like this, all nice and short, then that's when you just add the rings to the end. You're just adding rings to the end, and that's all. So I'm going to add 2 silver rings right to the end off of this copper, and I'm not going through any other rings except those 2 silver rings. I'm not going through these silver ones, not doing any of that, just through those 2 copper rings on the end. I'm going to put 2 rings on the end, and then we'll continue. Okay, so now when I look at this, look at that. I got these 2 little dangly guys hanging off the end. That's my little note to myself that means it's time to go through the maze of rings. And we're going to do the same thing. This ring, we're going to do the same thing but without paper clips. This ring goes on top. This ring goes on bottom. And then trying to keep those kind of down where they'll stay in place, I turn it so I can look down on the chain. And I open this up, and I'm going to scoop up an open, I'm getting my open copper ring ready to go. I'm going to separate these 2 copper rings, and then I'm holding them with my fingers, trying to hold them open. Okay, so I go back behind this silver ring, in between the 2 copper rings. I'm catching those 2 silver rings down on the bottom. I'm coming out in between these 2 copper rings, and I'm coming through that last silver ring. The maze, we're going through the maze. and close. Actually, let's do it a speed weaving style. Instead of closing this ring, I'm going to add 2 silver rings before I close it. And I'm going to close. Ideally, I would add those on already closed, but I added them on without them being closed. So I'm going to close them up now, or I'll forget. And then I'll be like, why won't this fit later? So here we go. Okay, so I've got my 2 dangly rings on, but I only have my single copper. Focus. There we go. I got just that single copper ring there. So I'm going to double that ring. And this time I got to double it through these 2 I added too. So I go through that and I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to go through those 2 copper, catch those 2 bottom silver, come out in between this 2 copper, and close. And now I'm ready to do it all again. These 2 go on the outside, like that. And then I turn it so I can look. Actually, I should get my copper ring ready first. Okay. So these are on the outside, like that. I turn it so I can look down on it. I'm going to separate those 2 copper rings. And now I go down through here, through the silver ring, in between the 2 copper rings. I catch those 2 silver rings below, come out in between, and I come through that last silver ring. And again, I can close this, or I can add 2 rings on the end. This time I'm just going to close it. Ah, so pretty, if it would focus. Oh, geez. I guess I'll give up on it focusing and just put the other ring on. All right. There we go. Okay, I'm doubling this ring. Doot, 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 doot. Now see, look what I did there. It came out all cattywampus. You got to kind of make sure it goes in the right way and then it also comes out the right way. In fact, I'm going to do it the wrong way. I'm going to have it come out the wrong way so we can see what that looks like. As I make full Persian, I periodically will stop and check the chain to make sure that I've done it right. In fact, I'm going to do another section so we can see how this error looks in the middle of a chain. So I'm adding my 2 silver rings on the end. Those clicks are good sounds. It means those rings are closing really tight and flush. Okay. So let's get this section done and then we'll look at that error and how to fix it. Opening up my copper ring. Okay, those are on the top and the bottom. Gonna split those open up a bit and down we go, through. And I'm gonna double that one. Let's get my camera working properly. Okay. Double that ring. That one came out wonky too. You just kind of ease it back and ease it back forward until it comes out the right way. Okay, let's look and see how that mistake looks. Let's get my light fixed here. Okay. Here we go. This side looks good. All the pretty V's are going the right way. This side looks good. All the V's look good. Oop, yep, that looks good. You have to check all the sides because it went in the right way, but it came out the wrong way. Okay, now I can see the problem. Let me get something to point with. So these all go out like a V, but this one, this ring right here, should have come up in between these two copper rings. It went in the right way. You can see here, wow, everything looks perfectly fine on this side. They're all V's. Everything looks good. But on this side, this ring just came out on the wrong side of this copper ring. So full Persian, it's actually pretty easy to fix that kind of thing. You find your closure. You need some fine tipped pliers, which I have. I'm going to open that up just a little bit. I'm going to ease it back and ease it into the right place and then close. Not too bad. Full Persian you can manage to do that with because it's got like a really open sort of, it's a big open ring that you're using for this weave. Other weaves like Jens Pine, you would never be able to do that. All right, and that, I think we're going to stop it there. That is how you weave full Persian. Please let me know how I can improve. Let me know what you think. How did it work? I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.